James King. If you don't know who I am or what I've been up to, for the last 2 years I've been working on an open net battle engine in modern C++. Well, what is an open net battle engine? It's basically a recreation of Mega Man Battle Network 6, which was a game that came out in the early 2000s for the Game Boy Advance. Unlike other Mega Man titles, it wasn't a platformer. You were battling on a 6x3 grid divided by teams, and you could attack using cards that you would draw in your drawing phase when the custom bar was full. Some of those cards spawned other characters in real time and in freeze time, and it created a very fast-paced, very intense experience. I've never had any other game like this before, so it was very unique for its time, and it was a very successful franchise until it ended on the 6th title, which is pretty much everybody's favorite. It's a little bit more balanced, especially in terms of PvP, and that's where the PvP scene still thrives today. So as you can see, it's pretty exciting. By the way, if you want to follow and see more of my latest features recorded as videos, you can follow me on OpenNet Battle on Twitter. That's where I go to post basically the newest features that you haven't seen yet, and you probably can't build because I'm still working on them. So speaking of building, a lot of people want to know how to actually play this game. Truth be told, I haven't made it easy to play because I want it to be as accurate as I can possibly get it before putting it in people's faces. I would rather have something take a long time and be accurate and look good and be working than deliver something that looks nice but has tons of bugs and isn't faithful to the franchise's mechanics. So now we're getting to a more mature stage in the project. I'm actually about to release version 2, and I feel like this is a good time as any to show you how to start building the project. If you're not a programmer, you might want to just sit back and wait for me to publicly announce demos, which will be coming around the corner here. But if you're a programmer, you can hop in and see what I've been up to, what I've been working on. So without showing you any more videos, let's actually get to the code and see how to start building this thing. And then I can talk about the code when you're actually looking at it. So first you want to go to github.com/themaverickprogrammer/opennetbattle. Now I'm already on the development tree. If you're not familiar with what trees are in Git, it's basically a way to categorize features. And if you don't know what Git is, it's just a way to back up all your code. So if you ever make a change or you want to work on a new feature without affecting your code base, you can do so safely. So what you're probably going to need to do is download Git first. So git-scm.com, go here, download it, and when you do, you'll be able to do this. You can go to a new folder, which I have called tutorial and it's empty. Right click and git bash. If you can do this, then you know everything's working out pretty well. This is the Git terminal, which is a lot like a Linux terminal, and in fact it looks a lot like one too. Now that we have that up, we're going to go clone. Clone is basically going to download my project onto your computer, but it's going to give you all the same branches and features and things that I'm currently working on at any point in time. Again, if you're not a developer, maybe you don't need to worry too much about this, but you might want to follow along and build and play the latest development ones. So what git clone is going to do is going to download, but it's not just downloading all of my files, it's actually downloading all the history for the project, and I've been working on this for the past 2 years. There's almost 700 commits alone in the latest branches, so it's going to take a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it, and when it finishes downloading, we'll resume and get it building. Now that it's done downloading, you want to change your directory to the folder you just downloaded in your terminal. As you can see here, I've already changed my directory from tutorial to OpenNet Battle. You can do that with the cd command. I'll demonstrate real quick. Cd back, cd OpenNet Battle. As you can see, when I went back, you didn't have that blue text. That means you're not in a Git repo. You want to make sure when you're running this command that you're in a root-git repo, which means you have blue text. You want to switch over to the development branch. I have it on my computer because I've already run the commands, but you won't have it. So what you need to do is you need to type git checkout /track origin development. I thought I had it copy and pasted, but this is what the command looks like. Once you type this in and press enter, you can now safely check out to development. As you can see, it says some information that we switched to the branch and it's up to date. Also, the blue text has changed to development. If we open up the folder in our Explorer window here, we can see a bunch of files, and you can explore all the source code yourself in the Battle Network folder. There's a lot of files. It's a very big project. I do want to reduce the size of this project by introducing scripting, which was on par for version 2, but I've already spent so much time refactoring the engine to be a bit more accurate that I don't think I have time for version 2, but it will come around in version 2.1. So how do we actually play? Here's one of the tools that we're going to be using today. It's called CMake. You want to be using at least CMake 3.12. If you download CMake off of the CMake website, they have C 3.18. That should be fine. I'm currently running CMake 3.16. So again, just type in cmake.org, go to their download CMake, and then when you run the Windows command, you should be able to type CMake out and find the CMake GUI. We don't want to do command line right now for this tutorial. Let's just stick with the GUI. So once you have this up and running, you should see something that looks a little bit more like this. It's kind of empty. What we need to do is tell CMake where our source code is and where we should build our project files to. I've gone ahead and cleared the system path to show you exactly how to do this. It's asking for the source code. That doesn't mean the Battle Network C++ source code, even though it is important. It's really looking for a file called CMake lists that tells CMake how to build the source code. So the CMake list file is going to tell it exactly where the source code for C++ is. We just need to make sure we're pointing to the file with the CMake lists. So we're going to copy and paste that, and then we need to tell it where to build the binaries. If you don't have a folder called build, go ahead and right-click and create one. Doesn't really matter what it's called. This is where all your project files are going to go. Once CMake runs, that is. We're going to hit configure, and CMake is going to ask how you want to build the project. Do you want to create a Visual Studio solution? Do you want to run makefiles, code blocks, Ninja? There's a bunch of different options, but I'm using 2019, so we're going to go ahead and use that. Also make sure that using x64. I am not 100% certain. I haven't tested that this project works across all different kinds of computer architectures. We're just going to make sure, we're going to assume we're all using an x64 computer at this time and choose that one. Go ahead and hit finish, and that's going to run a couple of steps. Notice on the output that it's actually downloading some sub-modules. These are external dependencies that the project requires. There are a couple of them. There's Swoosh, which is a library that I created for screen transitions, effects, and scene management. There's Lua, which is going to be the scripting solution in the future. SFML, which is currently the rendering and pretty much multimedia solution for the project. Also, this is important to note, the SFML version that I'm using is custom. I forked SFML and made it compatible with Android so that we can have modern shaders on phones. Current SFML doesn't allow you to do that. There's also an external web API project, which is going to be how we interface to our web accounts, and I'll get to that in a second. But what you should see at the end of all the steps is configuring done. We're almost there. There are a couple of entries in here. You don't need to click on any of these unless you know what you're doing. If you are a familiar CMake user, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or on Discord to ask me what some of these commands do. But for now, just leave them alone and hit configure one more time to make the red go away. Great, so there's no errors, no problems. Configuring is done. We can hit generate. Again, no problems. Now we can open up our Visual Studio solution. So what CMake has done for us is created the Visual Studio solution that your computer needs to build everything without needing to know about all your sub-projects and your operating system file paths or everything else that you need. It's ready to go. So we're going to right-click on Battle Network, and we're going to click Set as Startup Project. You can choose to build and release or debug. I like debug. I like to see all the output that I'm using. And we're just going to hit play. Now it's going to build everything. And it's, again, a very large project. I've been working on it for 2 years. And even when we have scripting support, there's still a lot to build. It's pretty fast about compiling the second time, unless you've made some very drastic engine changes. So we're going to let this build. And we'll come back when it's done. Now you've run build and you should only get one error, the command set local. This is by design. Currently, the development branch expects you to have a web account to interface with and download all your chips and folders. So we have this error to let you know you need to create to config any file that it's missing. What we're going to do is open up NetBattle and then go into Battle Network and find the config.ini template file. We can simply rename this. Now that we have that, open it up. I already have a couple of controllers and keypads mapped, but it might not fit your controller. We can show you how to set up those controls in a second. What you should notice is that in the net category, there's a couple of parameters we have to fill. We need a web server. There's going to be battlenetwork.io version 1, and these need to be strings. Port, which is 3000, and your username and password. I'm not going to show you my username and password, but I will show you how to create the account. So I've hit save, and we have a config any file. We're going to minimize and go back to our web browser here. We're going to type in battlenetwork.io. So this is another part of the project, and one of the reasons why it's been taking so long. I do intend for us to have PvP and other kinds of great online features. This isn't a requirement, it's optional, but at this time, development branch does need it because I haven't made it optional quite yet. If you don't have an account, just hit the sign up button and you can create one. You should basically get a little toaster that pops up here when you create one successfully. Now I've logged in and you should have a success. That's how you know you're in. You can see some dashboard announcements that I have, as well as my folders. The dashboard makes it very convenient to do things that you couldn't do before. For instance, I have some pre-made folders called Yo-Yo folder and Sword Pack. Anybody can create a new folder and share it with anybody on the system. Sorry about that. It looks like my recording software has a time limit cap. So where I left off, I was showing you I could view a folder and you can also share folders. I think that the solutions they have out there right now, people are writing Lewis scripts to hack the ROM so that you have the folders you want and be able to do certain PvP balances. I think that's cumbersome, and in the future, if you have a bunch of really good scripts, they might not work together. So having everything under one umbrella, as far as project and software management goes, makes a lot of sense in the long run. So you can share these folders if you want. For instance, I could hit share, and then when you hit yes, it's going to go to the public folders. And as you can see here, I can import them. Right? So you can share folders, you can import folders, you'd have them. You and your friends can create stuff. That's the idea, is that you can come over here and make your own cards. And as currently administrator, I can do that, but I'm not going to show you those tools at this time, not until it's ready for everybody else to be able to play with. But you can create a new folder by hitting new, right? You can select some that you want to delete. If you want to do that, and delete. So you can also multi-select. That's nice. I will say that this isn't the nicest website in the world. I am not a web developer. I just threw this together in a month. I learned Vue.js in about 2 weeks, and I just started hacking this thing together. Now, if you want to contribute to the web dashboard, because I know a lot of people are probably better web programmers than me, you want to go to the Mavic Programmer /OpenNet Battle Web Dashboard. It's a Vue.js project, and I did document and try to keep it orderly as much as possible that I could, but I'm sure that you have a lot of better design choices that you could make. Now, also CSS-wise, if you're not a programmer per se for Vue.js, you probably can make this look a lot nicer. So that's also on the table if you want to contribute. Let's actually show you how to edit something. So I want to create a new folder for you guys. So let's call this the James King YouTube folder. Now it's going to cut me short because the game has a character limit, and you'll see how short it got. So YouTube F. I can rename it though. So YouTube folder. It's probably still going to be cut off. That's fine. YouTube FLD. That's fine with me. We got to actually add cards. So we hit edit. We have nothing. And I want invisible. I definitely want a couple Twin Fangs. So if you notice, Twin Fang is a Mega Man Battle Network 3 card. It's not something, or chip. It's not something you see in Battle Network 6. So I was able to program that and add this on here. I want to have a barrier, anti-damage, rock cube. Add to folder. Boom. Tells me some cards are added. Great. I want tornado. I love tornado. Now some of these cards, I don't think mock gun works just yet, but as soon as we have scripting, you won't have to download any more clients. You won't have to rebuild anything. You can just log in and it will download the scripts, and now these things will be working. So that's the future that I'm building with this software here. Alright, I think that's enough. We can go back to our folders, and we can see that the YouTube folder has 11 things in it, and we can take a quick preview and see everything we have. You can also roll your mouse over some of the codes. You can see the code family, so you know that there's other codes out there if you want to go and grab those chips. You can edit from here, and it'll take you to the edit screen. And if you ever want to delete something, like let's say I'm really not feeling this twin fang, and now it's gone. So in the future though, it's going to be a lot easier to add more chips. Like if I want to have 3 of the same, I'll have like a number you can enter. But these things will be in the future. I got to finish V2 and get this out to you guys. Notice I clicked on a link and you have like a card version of the preview. You can see a longer description, and you can see its ID in the API. So enough of that. Now that you have the account and you've entered your username and your password into the system, now we actually get to play. So remember, edit your config.ini. I'm not going to show you that. Open it, put your username and password there, save it. Now I will show you what happens when you have it correct. Let's hit play. As you can see, it says logged in. We're in. Now, if there's ever any problem with logging in, this is what's going to happen. The output on debug is going to say it could not be authorized, and it's going to abort the auto login. You also should see this in a log.txt file in the same directory as your program, if you're in release mode, that is. Now, you can play if you don't log in, but the game can't download your folders and your chips. So if you don't have any folders, then you can't choose any mobs to select. So let me show you how to configure your controller. By default, if the engine can't find any accurate config files, it's going to allow you to use the keyboard to navigate, enter to select, back to go back or cancel, and I believe, don't quote me on this, it's the ASZX keys on your keyboard to interact in the game. The whole idea is that you're not going to have the full support of most keys, but you'll be able to go into configure and map them from there. Now in here you can change the audio and your sound effects. There's a couple of shaders I have written that are currently disabled in development to add lighting, reflections, and other cool things that the original Game Boy Advance hardware couldn't do, but it's currently disabled. In the future, this will also be changeable. Alright, so my keyboard, this is what we care about. Press enter. These are all your keys, and if you have a bad config file, I believe these are going to say no key. You just find the key you want to bind, you press enter, and then you choose a key on the keyboard. Simple as that. Do this for all the keys you want, hit back. Now, once you've binded the key, it's not going to save it until you actually leave this scene. So if you're changing the arrow keys around and you're not expecting it to work, that's why. You got to make sure you've actually exited the scene and saved before those keys become effective. Do the same thing with the gamepad. Your gamepad's probably going to be different. I can choose different keys on my gamepad to do different things, but this is the layout that I like. So I'm going to hit back. I'm going to bring the music back. Hit back one more time, and then press enter. We want to say yes. Now everything is set for our controller. Notice we have a spinner at the bottom right. This is going to show up at any point in time in the game if your game is doing any network talking. Right now we see this output. It was downloading a bunch of files and trying to download the icon files, but because I haven't added the icon files to my web API yet, they're all going to fail. But you are going to get the cards. So now you can see it downloaded our folders. There's our YouTube folder. Okay, so notice that the pack is empty. The folder edit screen works 100%. I've currently disabled the pack from working until we get the web accounts fully integrated into the engine. For instance, any local change you make here doesn't modify the web client, right? So if I went over here and I deleted it, then it wouldn't delete on the server. Does that make sense? So don't worry about modifying things on a client right now. Once version 2 is out, these things will be working. You will be able to make changes to the game. You will be able to delete folders and see them deleted on your account. And when you collect chips in the game, you'll see those same chips show up in your web account as well. So I'm going to run that again. And this time, I'm just going to select a folder and we're going to start battling. I want to turn off the music. We can't select the enemies until it finishes downloading. So I'm going to go to Navi, and any Navi that you choose shows up in the overworld. These are programmable. You can go into the source code now and add some more. Let me show you where you would do that. So if we hit Control, comma, it's going to bring up the Visual Studio Code. We're going to look for Navi registration. Q, Navi registration. This is where you can add new Navis. So if you programmed a new net Navi, you would just create an information object, Navis, add class, the name of the class that you created, so if the brand new Navi here, and this is where you would set their special description, their previews information, and that's it. That's it. It takes care of it for you, and it'll show up in the game. So I need to pause real quick, make sure my recording is working. Okay, I'm back. Now I'm going to play as Mega Man. And now I'm going to choose our folder that we created from YouTube, for YouTube, Equip. So we have a variety of enemies. In the future, most of the content is going to be scripted. Your enemies, net navis, chips. So there's going to be a lot more here. And the menus, by the way, are going to be drastically changed from version 2. Version 1, it looked a lot like this one, and I want it to look a little bit cooler, a little bit more flashier. So this is an older menu system, by the way, so you don't get too attached to any of these screen layouts that you're seeing. So let's start with something simple. Any point in time, you can hide the cust like you could in the game, toggle it, right bumper like you would, or the left bumper like you would in Game Boy Advance. Notice that Mega Man has form select, just like Mega Man Battle Network 6. You press up, you can see the forms you can choose from. If you hold your option key down that you bound in the config screen, it'll bring up a short, brief description of the chip you're on. So, I'm going to go ahead and choose that character. So every character, and even the forms, have special abilities. Sometimes the ability is set to null, so it doesn't do anything. I'll show you another character in a second. But the charge, what happens when you charge your ability changes depending on what you selected. Right? So, open up the chip cus, go in. So here is the new form. If I press Y on my gamepad, it does my special ability. So we got a chip. If we go to our folders, we'll see that it showed up. There it is. It's in our pack. So the pack system is working after all. Cool. Let's make sure it's still there. Awesome. That was nice. So, let's go and try battling something a little bit more challenging. So the game engine is very robust. It's not perfect. And remember, you're in the development branch. There are probably a couple of bugs and things that could be tweaked to be a little bit more flawless, but it's on its way. My focus is the mechanics to make sure that it's behaving like the game before focusing on the art, making sure it looks exactly like the game. But it's pretty robust, like I said. It has all of the same features you'd see in Mega Man Battle Network 6. And you can program and build anything you want based off of the engine. So you have building blocks like the player class to create a new Navi. You have chip classes to build new chips. And they all have functions to make your life so easy to develop for. You just gotta need a little bit more C++. Scripting will make that even easier. Cool. So I want to show you one more character before we call this a wrap-up. But where is this going? As you can tell, there is some kind of an overworld system here. It's an infinite generating path. And in version 2.1, I want to have a complete overworld system that you can develop your own maps that can interconnect with. That way, you can use this engine to not just build custom scripts, custom enemies, custom net navis, and have PvP, but you could also use this engine to build your own Mega Man Battle Network story. That would be really cool. Most of the prefabbed objects are made for you already. You would just need to tell it what to say, where to move to, what to load, right? You see what I'm saying? So I'm really excited for the possibilities of this. I do want to get PvP in here, which is going to be version 3, and I want to see you guys being able to use this for tournaments and configuring it so that you can fix your quality of life stuff. I'm really excited to share this with you, is basically what I'm saying. So I want my music back on, just to show you the last thing I want to show you. And this will be it. So I thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoy playing the game engine. I hope you participate and contribute. Hope to see you on Discord and come support me on Twitter. So without further ado, James King, signing out.